Huh. No windows, no fire escapes, no exit signs. They really went all in on the whole brooding cave vibe. And now I'm sitting across from a guy who broke a bat once and decided he liked the sound of bones more than words. Great. Let's talk.
Sarcasm. The language of men who fear silence. You fill space with noise because silence requires you to listen. I expected a child in tights, but what I see is something far more fragile. A boy who still believes pain has a purpose beyond survival.
Grief doesn't define me, but I won't pretend it hasn't shaped the way I move. Swing through enough collapsing buildings and watch enough hands slip away, and you start to understand what really matters. People need someone who doesn't give up on them, even when they've given up on themselves. That's why I stay in this fight.
Remaining in the fight is not always noble. Sometimes it is fear of irrelevance, of stillness. I embraced the fall long ago. What came after was freedom without illusion. You place your hope in citizens who applaud you until they need a new excuse. Their adoration is a leash. You wear it with pride.
If responsibility feels like a leash, maybe you've only ever worn chains. The people I protect, they're flawed, yeah, but they try. And sometimes, trying is everything. You say you found freedom, but it looks more like exile. You're not beyond them. You've just stopped believing they can grow.
A cycle of failure patched over by masked men like you who can't let go of yesterday. You confuse motion with progress. You swing fast, but your city never changes. That's not evolution. That's endurance trapped in costume.
Endurance is the point. You show up every day, not because the world changes overnight, but because giving up means it never will. I've seen moments that were worth every bruise. Kids pulling their friends from danger. Strangers risking everything for someone else. Not because of me, but because they found something real inside themselves. You won't see those moments because you've already decided no one's worth watching.
The spotlight never reaches the corners. I live in those corners, where men betray for warmth, where survival poisons kindness. Your optimism demands blind spots. Mine records what the light refuses to touch. When I walk through a city, I see its bones, not its banners.
Funny thing about bones, they support the body, but they don't define it. You've stripped everything down to structure, forgetting the soul inside. People disappoint, constantly. But disappointment doesn't cancel potential. It challenges it.
Potential without confrontation is a fable. I do not read fables. I tore my future from the soil with bloodied hands. There was no mentor, no miracle. Just walls, echoes, and pain that didn't ask permission. I shaped myself because no one else would.
And for that, I respect your strength. But strength alone isn't enough. I've stopped men twice your size because they thought power made them untouchable. Real strength is when you protect people who can't repay you. It's when you lift a building off a stranger and don't ask for applause.
But strength that shields without demanding change enables decay. I demand transformation. Through fear, through force, through pain if needed. Comfort breeds cowardice. That is what I cut away.
There it is. Pain is a method, not a lesson. You treat suffering like a syllabus. But I've been through hell, and I never use that as license. You think your endurance gives you insight, but it's warped your compass. And now you break people thinking you're doing them a favor.
I offer clarity. The kind no padded lecture or rooftop rescue provides. People lie to themselves until fear makes them honest. I provide the fear. You want them to believe in better. I want them to be better. There is a difference.
Sure, there's a difference. One inspires, the other imposes. I've stood between chaos and a child more times than I can count. Sometimes I win, sometimes I don't. But I never use fear as my blueprint, because fear may bend people, but it rarely builds anything that lasts.
And hope crumbles the moment pressure arrives. The child you save today becomes the coward tomorrow. You chase temporary triumphs, stringing them together like they add up to justice. I operate in permanence.
Then let me ask you something. When you're not fighting, not smashing, not preaching, what do? Do you rest? Do you read? Do you laugh? Because if your entire identity needs the world to burn, then maybe the fire's not out there. Maybe it's just you trying to stay warm.
Leisure is for men who inherit. I built myself in the furnace of purpose. There is no comfort in my path, no lull between storms. I have no need for warmth. I became the cold. It reminds the world that softness has a cost.
Softness has a cost, but so does never letting your guard down. I've seen friends close off, bury their kindness, and forget what made them human. You're not the only one who clawed their way through the dark. Difference is, I brought someone else out with me.
I do not lead with the promise of return. The ones who follow me are stripped of fantasy. No lanterns, no lullabies. Just purpose without anesthesia. They walk because they're ready. The rest stay behind and blame the ones who moved forward.
I've heard that tone before. Every dictator, every enforcer, convinced their pain gave them vision. But you miss something. Vision isn't worth much if you stop seeing people. I've fought gods, monsters, machines, but the hardest battles were with people who forgot how to feel. That's where I find you now.
I feel the tremble in men when truth arrives uninvited. When they meet the version of themselves they fear most, the one that cannot hide behind hope. You call that monstrous. I call it liberation. I am not a nightmare. I am an awakening.
Awakening? You show them pain and expect gratitude. That's not awakening. That's anesthesia wearing off. I don't deny truth hurts. But I've also seen what happens when someone believes in you before you believe in yourself. That kind of awakening doesn't leave bruises. It leaves impact.
Your impact fades when the applause ends. You cradle dreams in your web, hoping the world grows careful. But careful men never change history. I do not protect dreams. I crush delusion.
Maybe you will be remembered. A symbol of discipline, of power, of terror too. But me? I'm still here, swinging through cities that haven't given up. Because for every person you try to scare straight, there's one who just needed someone to stand with them. And that's the side I'll always choose.
Stand with them. Fall beside them. It makes no difference. History will write me into its marrow, not its pages. I was never meant to be admired. I was made to be understood too late. And in that I will endure longer than your name ever will.